Hi guys, so I am back to answer prompts numbers 15 to 21. Let's jump right in, and I'm just looking down at the prompts that I've written down. So prompt number 15 for day 15 is, what was your best, worst, most memorable tarot moment of 2020? For example, a message that showed you something, or a deck that surprised you, or a reading that has stuck with you. So I don't know that I've gotten a message that specifically has stuck with me or surprised me in 2020 due to the fact that I mostly read for myself, and it's kind of difficult to shock yourself. One of the things I do really want to try is having a reading done for me by someone else, and then maybe I can experience that shock factor. It would be pretty cool. In terms of the deck that surprised me, I have one good surprise and one not so good surprise. So we'll get the bad surprise over with. And that is the Monstarot, because I thought I would love it. I wanted it for a really long time. It was out of print, and then it finally came back. I was super excited, and then it came in. And you know, a lot of it is probably my own fault. I didn't realize the cards were so huge. They are my hand. Like, you see my hand? I do have small hands, but I guess it's my own fault for not paying attention to just how ginormous these cards are. And they are like this cardboard. Like, it reminds me of cereal box cardboard. So not only are they huge, but because of the cardboard nature of them, I couldn't really shuffle them, but I was determined to work with them. And you know, I have other big cards. I'm like, you know what, those worked out fine. But the first time I shuffled this deck, I just went and completely bent a card in half. Just completely. I was looking for it, but I can't find it right now. But completely bent it, and that kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, and I put the deck away, and I was super angry, and I didn't touch it for a couple of months. And then I went back to it and thought, you know, don't riffle shuffle it. You don't have to be so rough with them. Just be more gentle, Angie. Okay? So I got the deck. I was super gentle, like I was trying really hard, but because they're big, they're just hard to handle. I was trying to be super careful. I bent another card. So back in the wardrobe they went, and I was determined to get rid of this deck. I picked out some cards to send out for Christmas. I picked out some cards for like birthday card type things, and I don't know, I'm determined to get rid of it. But the more they sat in there, like, I just couldn't get them off my mind. They're super cute. I really wanted to like this deck. So I thought maybe I could trim them and make them a workable size. And that's been a project. So the deck's not done yet, but this is kind of what they look like, or what the whole deck is gonna look like, I guess. Just a more manageable size. So I'm determined to work with this deck, or try to work with this deck. But if after I finish modding it still hates me, then I will definitely get rid of it, because it's been months. It's been a year, really, that I've been trying to work with this deck that I thought I would love, but it hasn't worked out for me. So fingers crossed that I can make it work. And the deck that gave me a good surprise was the Druid Tarot. This is a super old deck that I've been avoiding forever. I've been into tarot. I started reading tarot when I was in high school, so a while now, on and off. But every time I kind of got back into tarot, the Druid would pop up as one of, you know, the recommended decks, and I always avoided it. I had the Wildwood, I couldn't work with it, and I'm like, nope, it's not right. But then this year, I gave in, I bought it, and it really surprised me. It has turned into one of my favorites, one of my most used. I did also trim these because they were also gigantic, and the cardstock is also kind of more on the cardboardy side. Not my favorite, but trimmed down. It's fine, they shuffle. I didn't bend any of these cards. And they just read for me so well. I connected the imagery, and I kind of feel dumb because I didn't realize that Druidcraft is kind of like a mixture of Druidry and Witchcraft, and maybe if I had realized that that's what it was, I would have got it sooner. I don't know, but it speaks to me. It's really good, and it surprised me. I thought I would get it. It would be one of those kind of classic decks. I could learn something from the book, and then I would, you know, put it away or move it on. This is staying with me forever. So those are the two decks that surprised me. Moving on to day number 16. The prompt is, which tarot decks give you the most insight by way of the imagery and symbolism rather than intuition or basic tarot knowledge? So this question took me on a loop. I kind of brainstormed it for a really long time because I do use my intuition, and it's one of those, even when you think you're not using your intuition, you probably are using some of your intuition. But I did try my best. So the first deck I have is the Everyday Enchantment Tarot. And see, these are also big cards. Sorry, I'm still, every time I bring up the Monstarot, I'll get a bit sour. But like, they're so pliable and like usable, and they don't cut my fingers. I can shuffle, I don't know. So these are the kind of big cards that work, okay? That's the first one. And no, the first thing. So also large cards, but these ones work. And oh, what was the prompt? Sorry. Ooh, I really can't take out the Monstarot without getting angry. I'm sorry, guys. Which tarot decks give you the most? Oh, imagery. Okay. So I'm not using my basic tarot knowledge or my intuition. Well, you know, intuition doesn't play a huge part when using this deck because the images are very specific. They are very situational, and you can look at them and instantly just be like, ah, not paying bills. Oh, bad haircut. You know, kids discovering things outside. What's this one? Oh, the doctors. So, yeah, you know, giving mom a hug, mom coming. So yeah, these are just very situational, very specific moments that you can look at and instantly understand whether you have a basic knowledge of tarot or not. You don't really need a lot of your intuition. You can just kind of get it from the situation that is happening in the cards. Right. So that's the Everyday Enchantment. The other one that I have, or another one that I have, is the Alchemical Tarot. And this one is kind of to answer the symbolism part of the question. These cards are very rich in all sorts of symbolism, mostly pertaining to alchemy. But look at all of those symbols. Now you would have to have a knowledge of these symbols, I suppose. But very, very heavy in symbology. Yeah, so that's to answer the symbolism part of that question. Although, like I said, you would have to have a knowledge of the symbols to know them, to use them effectively. Another kind of category of decks that fit into this question is decks that are based on myths or stories or like popular culture TV shows, maybe even music, because you don't really need to know any system if you know the story and you can relate it back to the story. For this category, I have two decks. The Queen Alice Tarot, which is based on Alice in Wonderland. So for this deck, you can, if you know the story or the stories, you don't necessarily need, oh, this is a good one. You don't necessarily need a basic tarot knowledge. You don't necessarily really need to use your intuition even. You really just use your knowledge of the story and you can connect it to either the imagery or just like the name, the title of the card. Yeah, so that's the Queen Alice Tarot by Dame Darcy. And any tarot deck, I know there's a lot of other Alice decks out there, but any deck really that connects to stories, mythology, any other specific kind of story would work. And then the other one is like TV shows or other kind of pop culture, music type things. And I own the Game of Thrones tarot. I have, oh, can we see them? Can we see them? I have all the books in that little cubby over there. And I've watched the series. I need to rewatch the series, but same idea as the Alice tarots. If you are familiar with the series and the stories, you don't really need a knowledge of the tarot. You can connect it back to story and to human experience based on the series. And finally, another kind of category that I think would be a good answer to this prompt is any animal deck. If you have a knowledge of animals and what they can symbolize or mean, then you don't need to rely on tarot knowledge quite so much, or even intuition either, if you are strictly focusing on the animals' kind of behaviors and qualities in real life. So for this, I have the Brady Tarot. This one kind of does depict animals in a very natural way. Not that the images are photorealistic or anything, but they do portray the animals' natural instincts and kind of habits. And in addition, this deck also has keywords. So any deck that kind of helps out with keywords would also be easier to use without intuition or basic knowledge. Day 17, the prompt is, what tarot card in your deck do you look out for the most when you get a new deck? If you don't like the card, does it ruin the deck for you? And I have a handful of cards now that I look at. One of them is the Queen of Swords, because she's my personal significator, and I don't like it when the Queen of Swords is portrayed in a negative light. And I should have been showing cards while I was talking, my bad, but this is the Queen of Swords from the Brady Tarot, retitled Mother of Swords. So you can see she's just caring for her young, and she can be standoffish or cold, but it's because, you know, because she cares. It's because she cares. Yeah. Another one that I look for is the Hermit. This is one of the cards that's associated with my birthday. I like this one a lot because it's modern, it's relatable. I usually prefer my hermits to be, you know, with some animal or wildlife, but I have pets, and sometimes it's nice to get away from them too. So I like that one. Another card I look for is the Strength card. And I don't like Strength card. Here I go again. Let me show you this while I talk. And I don't like Strength cards that have excessive abuse of an animal, or like needlessly beating a poor animal. This one is from the Game of Thrones tarot, and it's a good card. There's no animals in it. It kind of helps you, it's Brienne, but it kind of helps you link strength to that more inner aspect of what strength is. Yeah, she's physically strong, but she's also a symbol of resilience and compassion. So I really like Brienne as being depicted as strength. Next card that I look for is the Page of Cups, or I should say the Moon. It's another card that's associated with my birthday. I like that it has a shadowy aspect to it, and I'm always interested to see how it will be interpreted. This one's from the Vox Arcana. and you can see the animals are kind of spirity and shadowy. I get a very like ancestral or past kind of feeling when I look at this one. Excuse me. And the Page of Cups, as I was saying, is another card I look for. It's because it's just one of my favorite cards in the tarot. I like them to look whimsical and colorful and innocent. I just think they're such a fun card in the deck. And finally, I look at, or one of the important things that I do look at is all the aces. I like the aces to represent, I like the images of the aces, I should say, to show the potential that the aces are, or that I read them as. And I feel like the Druidcraft Tarot really shows that kind of untapped potential of the aces. I think this is my favorite Ace of Wands ever. So yeah, those are the cards that I look for when looking at decks to purchase. If enough of these cards don't appeal to me, then yeah, I won't get the deck. But it's not that I mind disliking some of these cards. I value the challenging cards for their teaching potential, but if it's a bunch of them that I don't like, then I think it's just the deck, like the artwork or the deck isn't for me, or it's something I don't like. If most of these are fine, and perhaps maybe the strength card is a bit challenging, I feel like I can work with that, and that I might be able to gain some valuable insight through that work. If it's all of these cards, then I think perhaps the deck isn't for me. Okay, I am taking too long this time. 18, number 18, prompt number 18, is do you read reversals? Why or why not? And yes and no. It depends on the question that's being asked, and it depends on the deck. For example, if the backs aren't reversible, then I don't read reversals. Otherwise, after, and the keyword here is after, I form a question or a spread that I want to work with, I make a clear decision before I draw cards, or before I even start shuffling the cards, whether I will or won't be reading reversals. So I guess it just depends on a lot of different factors. I can't read reversals with the Modern Witch Tarot anymore, because I was, until I realized that they are, in fact, not actually reversible. So here they are in the right position, right? Upright. And then if I turn this one upside down, you know, I was reading them, and then one day I noticed that they're not the same. So I can't read reversals with this deck anymore. The hilts of the swords. Oh, sorry, they're both upright again. The hilts of the swords, they don't match. But yeah, so first of all, the backs have to be reversible. Second of all, depends on the question. And then finally, I make a decision before any shuffling or dealing of the cards is done. Day 19, the prompt is share which deck gives you the heebie-jeebies. And I have one, which is the feeling of the heebie-jeebies, like, ooh, it's kind of magical kind of feeling. And that is the Modern Witch Tarot. I'm sure you've all seen this, but the reason this one gives me the heebie-jeebies is because whenever I do a reading with it, and like I'll draw the cards, and it'll be whatever cards, let's just say it's the Five of Swords that comes up, and I'll try to do another reading, maybe another day, or I'll try to get some more insight on that question that I just asked. No matter how much I shuffle, what I do, doesn't matter. The same card will keep coming up until, I don't know, until the deck feels like working with me again, or until I kind of resolve some of my issues regarding that. It's really creepy in that kind of like magical weird. I can't explain it. I've tried to explain it. I've tried to like experiment with it, but it keeps coming up like the same thing until it doesn't. So that's the kind of like feeling, the heebie-jeebie feeling I get deck. But there's also decks that visually kind of creep me out. One of those would be the Liberty Tarot. I got this one to deepen my understanding of the Thoth. It is Thoth based, so all the majors are fine. They're kind of like stripped down. I don't want to say stripped down, but cleaner, perhaps. Images that follow the Thoth. But then you get into the minors, and some of these are really creepy, and there's some content that might make you uncomfortable, so you can just skip ahead if you want. There's a lot of like sexual kind of taboo things in the images I'm about to show. So in the minors, there's just a lot of creepy things going on sometimes. Like here, the people with the nets. On the bottom, it's usually a very traditional Thoth image, but then there's just like some additional scenes, and it's really weird. I don't really know what to do with it. Oh, here's one. What is happening here? He's being kind of attacked, grabbed by these demons. Yeah, it's weird. Oh, another one. Just it looks like this guy's pushing him off of him, and she's definitely saying no to him, but like stuff's still happening. And here, you know, you get some very religious imagery, like in that negative kind of sense. So a lot of these, they creep me out looking at them. There's a lot of like taboo-ish scenery happening. So it is kind of like creepy in that way. It kind of gives me that, it's gross, maybe kind of meh feelings. But not so much that I don't want to work with it. I do want to work with it, and knowing maybe like why these things creep you out, or why you're having these emotions or reactions to the images is valuable. And then there's decks like the Nicoletta Ciccoli type decks that I don't own and I just can't work with because I find them creepy in the way that I don't want to work with them. Any of those kind of big head, big eye decks. I forget the artist, she has a bunch of them out. I hate them. They just creep me out in kind of the most primal way. I remember when I was little, I was gifted one of those porcelain dolls, and it just creeped the hell out of me. I couldn't sleep for months. Sometimes I still think about that doll, and it's still to this day like really creeps me out. So those kind of decks don't jive with me, and they really do give me like that traditional, I suppose, definition of the heebie-jeebies. Question number 20 for day 20 is, what is your favorite tarot spread at the moment? And for this, I'm going to just put the camera down and we'll look at 3 spreads because, you know, I can't answer a question properly today. Okay, let's start with the spread that I've definitely used and loved the most this past year. And this spread is called the Morning Cup spread. I heard of this spread on Lisa Papas's channel from Lisa Supportive Tarot with Lisa. And I'm not sure if this is one of her original spreads or if she got this spread from somewhere else. I can't remember. But here it is. It's the one I've been using a lot, maybe not almost daily, definitely Definitely at least half the week though. So the morning cup spread. You lay out cards in a grid of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you take an oracle deck. I have the Botanical Inspirations here. Give them a good shuffle. And put one of those right here. So visually, it looks like a mug. You know, you have your mug here, a little handle here. Very cute. I like it a lot. So, the first card here is how to, I'm just gonna glance on my notes here to make sure I'm not lying to you guys. How to make a positive difference today. Next to that is what to be mindful of today. Then below that, we have what can ground you today. And then the last card over here is what can be improved on today. And finally, the oracle card, the handle here, is what is the energy of today. So the energy of today, I usually leave the same. Sometimes these can be adjusted a little to your specific needs. If I had a specific problem the day before, I can tweak some of these questions to be more specific to my day. But that's the morning cup spread. It's a great way to start your day. You can have your coffee while you're doing your reading, and it's quite insightful. All right, so that's the one that I've been using the most this year. Another one that I really like is kind of old and simple, but I like it, and I think I like it for the kind of ritual that it lends itself to, and that is the week ahead spread. So I like to do this once a week. My week begins on a Wednesday, so I'll either do the spread on the Sunday as my week is ending, or on the Wednesday as my week is starting. And I just very simply lay out 7 cards. Or 6 cards, I should say, for each of the coming days of the week. Sometimes I will draw 3 more cards to kind of tell me what I can improve on this week from last week. And I look at these three as a whole, not as separate images, but I'll read them as a whole. So what can I improve on this week from last week? I don't always do that because I'm just a very average human being, not always looking to improve upon myself. But if I had a week where I think, you know, I could have done a lot of things better, I'll add that extra insight. Otherwise, I'll just pull a card for each day of the week, get a general sense of what's happening, maybe the energy. Sometimes I read it as like the energy of every day, or otherwise, like the 3 cards that I just pulled, look at it as a whole and kind of get a sense of what might be coming, or what I might be able to do to make the week a good one. So it just depends on the question that I specifically ask, but this is the layout of the spread. Very simple, and I like it because it's kind of that ritualistic weekend or week beginning kind of spread. And finally, the last spread that I want to mention is from the Vox Arcana deck, and it's new to me and I haven't used it as much, but I think it's a super neat idea. And the reading I did do with it was a really kind of deep dive into looking at life through a different lens and gaining a kind of different perspective. So anyway, let me get into it. This is a 5-card spread, and you need a card from the majors, and then a card from the Pentacle suit, the Cup suit, the Sword suit, and the Wand suit. So before we begin the spread, we have to divide the deck into its different sections. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll speed up the video or I'll cut it out and then we'll get back to the spread. All right, so now that we have our 5 different piles, we will go ahead and shuffle the majors and pick our card. So you give your first pile a shuffle. And we have the Hanged Man. The next card in the spread is the Pentacles. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our Pentacles. Pentacles. Ooh, of course, it's the last pile I grab here. Give them a shuffle. And we have the 7 of Pentacles as the second card. The third card in the spread would be, whoops, the Cups. The Cups. Here we are. Give them a shuffle. And grab a card. The 9 of Cups as our third card. Then we go to the Swords. Give them a shuffle. The Page of Swords. And lastly, we have the Wands. Give them a shuffle. Grab a card. We have the 5 of Wands. Now we can have a look at our spread, and I'll read out to you what each of the cards stands for. The first card, your major card, is the melody, or it represents the melody of a song. So what is the melody of your great song? What do you need to do to have it burst forth from your inner soul? So you can see how the prompts in this spread require some more time and some more insight into your life, which is really cool, I think. The second card is your Pentacles card, and it is, the prompts for this one are, how can you harmonize with the melody to blend together your strengths and your weaknesses? So this is kind of like the harmony of the song. And how can you harmonize these two aspects of your life? Next, we're going to look at the Cups. And the Cups represent the rhythm of the song, or the rhythm of your life. The rhythm of your life. Okay. So what do you need to follow so you can move the sound forward with your song? Moving on to the Swords. The Swords are the timber. And what do you need to add to your song for it to be able to cut through the heart? And finally, we look at the Wands. And the Wands are the form of the song. And what form can your song take after looking at all the other elements presented and enhance your song? So this form card is connecting to all the cards before it. And it's a really neat way to connect the tarot to your life, I think. If you have a basic knowledge of music, or perhaps you are a musician, then this would be even more intriguing. When you listen to a song, it's not just one thing that you hear, it's all of these things, and they're all working together to create that mood, to create that feeling and emotion. Question number 21, or prompt number 21, is which cards relate to you personally, not just your astrology association or court cards. And I'm gonna go back to my Queen of Swords, and I know that's exactly what the prompt said not to do, but I do really personally associate with her, and that's why I feel so strongly about how this card is portrayed and why it's one of the images or one of the cards that I look for in a new deck. Some other cards are my birth cards, my astrology cards, the Hermit and the Moon. because I do often go through hermiting phases where I hold myself up physically and mentally, not letting anyone close while I work through something or I obsess about something before I can rejoin the real world. I often find myself in situations where I'm not perceived in the way that I want to be, or that I'm meant to be perceived, or that I'm seeing something that's not necessarily there in a situation. So that's just relating to the moon card. Yeah, so I do like relate to these astrology cards a lot as well. But now to actually answer the question, from the Wands suit, I don't feel strongly connected to any cards, but if I had to choose one, it would be the Five of Wands. And this is another reason this deck kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. Sorry, going back to the heebie-jeebie question. This Five of Wands, if you look closely, like, these people have masks on and they're like fighting. I am certain that while this deck was being created and when it came out, this whole coronavirus mask wearing thing wasn't a thing yet. So how do you explain that? Super creepy in like a cool way. Okay, back to the question that I'm currently answering. I chose this one because I'm always going headfirst into almost everything, and I tend to butt a lot of heads doing that. And I can be a confrontational person sometimes, as well as I do enjoy competition, whether that's in my classroom, you know, making lessons more interesting through competition, or at home, you know, with friends or family, playing games, video games, just that kind of competition. I really enjoy it. So maybe I relate to the Wands more than I thought initially. In terms of the swords, I'd have to say I relate most to the Nine of Swords. That feeling of not being able to sleep, of things keeping you up, of things waking you up. I constantly have thoughts floating around in my head, and just having my thoughts haunt me throughout the night is a feeling that's all too well known to me. And that's, I suppose, specifically images or decks that are based on the RWS. So yeah, the Nine of Swords in the RWS system is the sword card that I relate to the most, in a kind of more negative way, perhaps. From the suit of cups, oh, where's the cups? Here they are. I chose the Knight of Cups. I am a bit of a hopeless romantic, but at the same time, I'm not really willing to share my cup or spill out of my cup. So kind of inwardly, hopelessly romantic. And I guess that could be an aspect of the Knight of Cups. Finally, from the Pentacle suit, I chose the Six of Pentacles as the card that I relate to the most currently, and I guess for the past 6 years, because I've had to ask for and accept a lot of help. I moved to a foreign country 6 years ago on my own, so there was a lot of community building that I did, and a lot of support that I created for myself, but then in that, also asking for help when I needed it. I also helped, especially over the last 2 or 3 years, helped out a lot and gave out a lot. So I can relate to this card from kind of both perspectives. So yeah, I think for almost the last decade of my life, the Six of Pentacles is the Pentacles card that I would say I relate to the most. All right, moving on. Oh, not moving on. That was prompt 21. So we are done for today. I'm sorry I rambled on for a little too long. I'll leave the names of the decks and timestamps down below, as well as a link to Lisa Pappas' channel. I don't think I can find the exact video of when she does the morning cup spread, but you can check out her channel anyway. It's really cool. She has a lot of content, so I'll post all that down below. Thank you for joining me today, and as ever, stay safe and take care. Bye bye.